Hi, everybody. Welcome to Facebook Live. And what I am doing today is something brand new for me, which is I am simultaneously uh, casting to Instagram Live because I think they're both great platforms. So I'm going to be trying this out. Hi. Thank you so much for those who are joining me live. If you're here, I'd love to know that you're here. Feel free to say hello. Because I am kind of on both platforms and doing Facebook Live and Instagram Live at the same time, you're going to see me looking back and forth between the two, between my phone and the computer. I don't know any other way to do this. If anybody has a better way, please let me know. But I wanted to pop onto both platforms today and have a little conversation about how to talk to friends and family when you start to do something a little bit different, which might be an anti-dieting way of life, mindful eating, intuitive eating, health at every size, whatever it is we want to call it. Oftentimes friends and family are really used to us dieting and doing the same old thing, and it can throw them off a little bit when we start doing something different. So I wanted to open up a conversation today about how to address some of these issues. And before I jump into the conversation today, I do want to introduce myself. I am Dr. Alexis Conason. I'm a clinical psychologist. I'm in private practice here in New York City, and I am also the founder of the Anti-Diet Plan. The Anti-Diet Plan is a 6-week virtual now online program that is all about how to get off of the diet, overeating, self-hatred roller coaster. If you've been there, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and start to have a more peaceful, harmonious, and joyful relationship with food and our body. And the program is based largely on mindfulness meditation and mindful eating, because I think those are some of the most powerful tools we have to help us come back home to ourselves, to help us really find a way to relate to ourselves. Ultimately, it's about relating to food differently, relating to our body differently, but relating to ourselves in a really different way. And mindfulness is one of the most powerful and effective tools that I know of to help people on that journey. So if you are interested in learning more about my program, the Anti-Diet Plan, registration is now closed for this current cycle. We're having our second live group call tonight. It's been an awesome group, and I hope many of you will join me for the next session. But for right now, you can join my free program, which is a 30-day, but 5-day challenge to kind of teach you some of the basics of mindful eating and the Anti-Diet Plan. And you can sign up for that on my website, www.drconason.com. All right, so we're going to jump in, and if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the comments section here. I'm happy to answer them. Or if you just want to say hi, let me know that you're here. I appreciate that as well. So one of the first things I want to mention in terms of how do we talk to friends and family about our kind of anti-dieting, intuitive eating, mindful eating way of life. So, like I was saying, if you are suddenly doing something different and our families or friends are used to us kind of being in the cycle, especially if they're in the cycle too of chronic dieting and hating their body and kind of like bashing on our bodies, it can be really kind of disjointed for them when all of a sudden we're doing something new. So sometimes it can be helpful to talk to them about it. But the first thing that I really want to emphasize is that we don't have to. We're not on, under any obligation to explain ourselves or justify what we're doing or have to defend what we're doing. I think our relationship with food and our body is deeply personal, and for many of us, it's private, and we want it to be, and that's totally okay too. So if you don't want to talk to your friends and family about what you're doing, totally fine. I just wanted to open that up. Of course, you don't need my permission to keep it to yourself, but I did just want to emphasize that, we don't have to have these difficult conversations if we don't want to. But if we do want to share with our friends and family what we're doing, there are a few ways that I think that we can open this up. And if you have other ways that you've talked about this, please feel free to share. I think that others can learn a lot from just the community and what people are doing and how people are managing this. I think it's important to think about, again, what we want to share. We don't have to share anything if we don't want to, but to kind of think in advance, what are the boundaries that we want to set around this conversation? So if we, don't want to share everything about our struggles with food and our body, think about that ahead of time. Think about what we feel comfortable sharing, what we don't, and how we're going to set that limit, how we can set those boundaries and just say, this is what I feel comfortable sharing, this is personal, this is too much, how can we set those boundaries? And then I think it can be also really great to explain on a basic level what anti-dieting means, what intuitive eating means, what mindful eating, what health at every size means. You can kind of gently explain some of the harms of diet culture and why what we had been doing before had actually really been not only not working for us, but really hurting us. And this can be a difficult conversation to have with people who are really entrenched in the diet mentality, because they are going to fiercely defend dieting and that way of life. And we don't want to get into a power struggle, because it's exhausting and it often doesn't really lead to a lot of change, for the other person. So, kind of we can try to sense out where to pick our battles here as well, but we can gently provide some information. I think that, providing books and resources and research articles are really a great way to open up these conversations as well. I love, some of my favorites are like the Health at Every Size book by Linda Bacon, the, obviously the Intuitive Eating book by Evelyn Tribole. Those are like the two classic texts, I think, on health at every size and intuitive eating. But there's also, I love Rebecca Scritchfield's book, Body Kindness, Linda Bacon's newer book, Body Respect. Those are all really excellent resources that we can give to friends and family, just to kind of give them a introduction and overview of what we're doing, what this is all about. You can direct them to, there's some wonderful podcasts to listen to. Again, Rebecca Scritchfield has an excellent podcast called Body Kindness. The Food Psych podcast by Christy Harrison is one of my favorites. And there's just a lot of, excellent resources. If you have some of your favorites, please feel free to share here. But I think that sometimes taking the burden off of ourselves to have to explain and be the experts, when this can be something new for us too. And sometimes we don't feel like the experts right away. We don't feel like we're able to, really, explain and defend what we're doing. So sometimes just providing those resources can be really helpful. And then I think just sharing what your experience has been, as comfortable as you feel doing so. And trying to find the balance between where we feel that we're educating, our friends and family, and sharing in a way that feels good with people who are hearing us and valuing what we say, and kind of a productive feeling conversation, and where it starts to feel that we're defending ourselves and having to hold on really tight to what we're doing or attack what the other person is doing, because that tends to not feel good. And I think that when we find ourselves in that kind of a situation where we're really having to defend ourselves and kind of, get entrenched into a kind of like a power struggle, I often find it best to just kind of disengage, to just say, okay, you know what, this conversation is not going the way that I wanted it to, and we have every, right opportunity to just kind of back out. So we can end those conversations. Sometimes writing for many people is very helpful in terms of opening up these conversations. So if you want to share with people what you're doing, sometimes writing like an email or a letter to share that. And that gives you time to reflect on what you want to say, and also, hopefully gives the other person time to reflect on how they want to respond. And you can even in your email share if you want a response or not. You might want to say, I just want to share this with you, but I don't really want to get into a whole back and forth about it. I just want to let you know this is what I'm doing. These are some things that you can do to support me in this if you would like to, including things like not talking about dieting around me, not asking me if I've lost weight or not criticizing or commenting on my body or my food choices. We can set those kinds of expectations for our friends and family, and let them know what we need. I think this can be an important part of the process as well, to like let people know what we need. And that's something that I think we don't do enough in our relationships, is that we expect people to be able to read our mind and to be able to just intuit what we need. And then we feel very disappointed when they don't give us what we need. But I think there's really a value in saying, this is exactly what I need. Can you give it to me? Can you support me in this? So those are some of the ways that I think that we can start to open up conversations with our friends and family about mindful eating, intuitive eating, the health at every size movement, and kind of help them understand where we are on our journey of trying a different way of eating and relating to food. So again, just to summarize, like some things to keep in mind when you're having this conversation is, what are healthy boundaries for you? What are things that you want to share and that you don't want to share about your journey? And then how are you going to kind of deal with some of those questions that might come up that are going into the areas that you don't want to share? Having some things in advance, just, set to some kind of go-to lines to say, not going to go there. This is something I don't feel comfortable sharing. Whatever that line is for you, that's going to help you just maintain that boundary. It's important that we don't feel coerced to talk about more than we want to talk about more than to disclose or share more than we feel comfortable sharing. So think about where that line feels for you. And at any point in the conversation, if you feel like you're oversharing or sharing things that, feel too personal, too intimate, I think that it's important to know where your boundaries are and try to maintain them in these conversations. So maintaining boundaries, asking for what you need, sharing resources, that you don't have to be the expert, especially if this is something new for you. You don't have to take that on. There's a lot of great books and podcasts and articles out there. Feel free to, send to your friends and family. And, again, asking for what we need. How can our friends and family support us? What do we want to get out of these conversations? Often it is to help them understand what we're doing and how to support us. So I think that can be really important as well. So I hope that will help you open up some conversations with your friends and family about your new way of eating and relating to your body, if you want to. And I think that's one of the most important things to remember is that we're under no obligation to be the educators in our friend group, to be that dissenting voice in our family, because sometimes that's just too much for us to take on. And especially when we live in marginalized bodies or are in situations where our bodies have been traumatized before, it can feel traumatizing again to have this new thing, this new way of eating, of relating that's really working for you, be attacked. So, number one thing in all of this is take care of yourself. And think about what you need from these conversations, what's going to make you feel cared for, safe, and protected as much as possible. So thank you for joining me here on Facebook Live and co-broadcasting to Instagram Live. I really appreciate everyone who's joining me live. And for those of you watching after the fact, thank you as well. Any comments, questions, feel free to let me know. You can reach me on you can reach me by email, info@drconison.com. You can reach me on Instagram at The Anti-Diet Plan, on Facebook, Alexis Conason Psy.D, and on Twitter at Conason Psy.D. So I hope we'll stay in touch. Feel free to sign up for my free 5-day challenge where you'll learn all the basics about mindful eating and the anti-diet plan. You can do that on my website, www.drconason.com. We are not going to be going live next week. I'm doing a self-care week. I'm going to be out of town on a solo vacation that I'm super excited about. Just taking some time really for myself. It's, again, something I think that's really hard for us to do, to take that break and say, I deserve I deserve some time, some time and some pampering. So I'm really excited about this vacation I'm going on. And I will see everyone last week of February. If you have ideas or topics for things you want me to talk about, I try to do a live every week and want to talk about what you want me to talk about. So if you have things you want to hear about, please do let me know and I'll try to address them. Thanks so much for joining me. See you next time. Bye.